I'm excited today because not only do I get to talk about the work that I do, but more importantly, I get to talk about the work that our commissioners have set forth, two of which are here. Tracy Moore's in the back, Kathy McDowell's up front. And today we're going to talk about the work that our department directors have been able to accomplish in the last year. We have set out to really focus on three things over the next 3 years: trust, service, and performance. We spent the last year listening to some concerns that many of you expressed to me that in the past, city staff may not have listened and made directional decisions with the type of trust that you would have expected out of the city. And so we really focused on that in the last year. And the one thing that we noticed was that if you want to get people that are going to turn Shelton around, it helps to hire people that know a little bit about Shelton. So we have a new leadership team at the city. And I was asked yesterday, if you can get one message across, what would it be? I think that message is that the people that you were concerned about are no longer at the city. We have the team that you see behind me. Out of the five of the 7 people that are on our leadership team now are SHS graduates, which we're very proud of. We have over 40% of the city staff SHS grads, and of these people, a lot of them are lifelong Shelton residents. In addition to that, you see that we actually have everybody on this team except for Darren is new in their position or new to the city within the last year. So we'll start by talking about some of the work that Vicki's done in HR. This is the top of our org chart. So 16 of the 17 positions at the city are either new to the city or new in their role as of this time last year. And I don't want you to read anything into the fact that Darren is not here today. I promise that he is still safe, but he's on vacation for a couple days. But it's important to note that we went through and we heard the complaints, we heard the concerns, we made some adjustments, and I think that we have now as staff that you can not only trust, but you can expect to act with the type of decision-making that you want from the city. Our commission now expresses a lot more trust than they have in the past, and the things that I hear from the community, I think that our department directors and the other positions have done a good job of engendering that trust as well. One of the things that Vicki's working on, and I should mention, Vicki retired once. She's probably not going to retire more than twice with us. So we need to figure out a way to make sure that we are ready before she leaves, and part of that is succession planning. Our new city clerk has been integral into us getting onto the ballot what we believe is the first citizen-led petition in the history of our city. So we're getting out information about Proposition 1 that our city clerk is working on now. This is going to go out in mailers with utility bills this month, and you can see this information on our website. The public safety realm, one of the exciting things that Darren has been able to do, and Mike, Lieutenant Fiola, and some other folks in the department are proud to talk about the reduction in various forms of crime that we've experienced over the last year. Probably the highlight for them is that they were able to go through reorganization where they hired 8 new employees in last year, 2 inside the office, but 6 officers, which allowed us to increase diversity and provide a better representation for what this community actually is. And then the exciting thing for next year is that we've also heard this concern, that the yards are messy, people aren't doing what they're expected to do with the codes that we have in the city to make people want to move here, to make businesses want to operate. So we take code enforcement seriously. We have a new code enforcement officer who's also our animal control officer, and I would report that in his first 2 months on the job, he sold more dog licenses than we have in the last 2 years. He has also adopted out more dogs than I think we've probably ever adopted out in a 6-month period, so he's done a phenomenal job. Speaking of police, you know what a bad way is to engender trust with the community? It's to have this show up in the paper, online, and everywhere else. So when your first hire ends up being somebody that you arrest later for felony fraud and theft charges, you set yourself back a little bit. But I'm happy to report that once NOLA came on board in our finance department, we've actually seen a very positive change in the perception that we don't not only have from the community in our finance department, but particularly internal. So NOLA's team has done a phenomenal job. You would think that following that would have been NOLA's tallest task. It was not. This, we affectionately refer to at the office as the debt fund. It's kind of funny now. It was not funny a year ago when I started this job. And I asked so what is a city debt? And I was told, we have no idea. And I was handed this piece, or this clump of pieces of paper, and explained that this is the city debt. It is written on ledger paper, one debt vehicle at a time, with reductions by payments noted every single time we make one. And whatever you do, do not get it out of order, because it's the only copy that we have. Nola worked very hard while she was on a pre-planned vacation, I might add, to figure out what this actually was in realistic terms. Got it into electronic format, so this is no longer a tool that we use, but an artifact that we look back on here. We know now that we're about $44 million in debt, that the last portion of that will be paid off in August of 2054. And while we're not happy with the hole that we dug ourselves in, we felt like the only way to get out of it was to figure out how big that hole is and how long it was going to last. So we do know that information now. Internal controls obviously became a hot topic around January, when Nola and I had some conversations about how it is possible that somebody could cash a check twice or three checks twice. So that was something that we tackled very quickly. We implemented a direct deposit policy citywide, which was a very large accomplishment, and due in large part from our union representation allowing us to go in and make a very strong change for not just their benefit, but also for the financial security of the city. In addition, we provided some security that not only one person at the city manages the information or the money's being spent, that we provided some multi-level security measures in place. Nola is still at work, but is getting very close to completing our audits. I think when you started, I told you that we'd finished up the 2015 audit, and it just didn't quite get there. So Nola is now working on 3 years at once and preparing for next year, but she's done a phenomenal job not only getting that up and running, but also working with her team to improve the transparency. So earlier this year, we put our previous year's budgets online. You can access those now. At last week's commission meeting, Nola's accounting manager presented the 2016 ending fund balances and halfway through 2017. To all of you, having an expenditure report within a couple weeks of the month passing might not seem like a big deal. To us at the city, having one within 4 months is a monumental change. So we are now at the point where Nola is producing these reports, and the difference that it will make for our department directors in managing their responsibilities will be very, very positive. Public Works had a weird mindset when I started. I noticed that if you went to the shop or you went to one of the other facilities that we have, that you saw what I remember growing up in this town, which is people that come into work and they do their job, and when there's a problem presented, they don't find an excuse for how to not do it, and they don't borrow extra money to do that job poorly. At the office in Public Works, it wasn't always the same. In fact, 5 weeks in a row when I started, I was answering Public Works comments. So if you called last August and you got a guy that had no idea about the street light or your driveway, that was likely me, because we had some difficulties meshing what happened with our frontline employees with the planning and engineering that went in. And we've made a number of changes. We brought on Craig Gregory as Public Works Director. He has done a phenomenal job not only leading that department, but also negotiating millions of dollars of savings and income for the city. One of those is a very difficult thing for us to do. Craig actually worked for a year in solid waste, but earlier this year, we decided to contract out the solid waste department. So our commissioners voted this forward, and we're happy to report that in the last couple of months that our partnership with Mason County Garbage has been a very positive one. They've had some turnover as Rick moves into retirement. Am I announcing that? Have you told everybody, Rick? But it's been good for us to make sure that the process is seamless for the customers, and as we continue to move on, I think that the relationship will only continue to get better. Basin 3 is a sewer project that we're working on in the historic part of Shelton, up by the library. Craig's team worked for a few months nonstop. I know this because every time I tried to get the conference room, they had all the maps laid out. But they have redesigned some of the construction component that at this point we're estimating about $1.5 million worth of savings. which if you remember to the last time we've done projects, we usually work the other way around. And this is a priority that we have based on the commission's direction, that we don't start something before we know exactly what we're going to pay for it. And that's been a big change for us. Another large success that we had was putting the vision plan into action. When I got here, I started right after the road diet was done for 2 blocks, and I looked at it and it just didn't look like the vision plan that was put forward through all the work that was done in the community. So we sat down in January. What you see on top is what the vision committee put together as their design of what railroad should look like. Between January and May, Craig's team redesigned, worked with WashDOT, worked with some other folks in the community to put together on the bottom something that's pretty close. Keep in mind the project at top is probably around a $7 million project. What Craig was able to accomplish at the bottom was about a $30,000 redesign. We were also very happy that WashDOT helped us so that we could actually unveil the road diet redesign the day before Forest Festival Parade, which would have been a shame if we would have unveiled this thing the next week when there were 20 people downtown instead of 2,000. This upcoming year, we're looking forward to starting the Basin 3 construction this spring. We'd hoped to do it a little bit earlier, but the bidding season really pushed us back, and we had to make the choice of whether or not we went forward with the old plan under a less positive bidding market, or if we redesigned it to pull back some of the costs and then pushed it forward when the bidding market's a little better. So we expect to get started with construction this spring. We're also excited that in this year's budget proposal that we're putting forward the idea that we pave 20 blocks a year of residential streets, and that is something that I hear a lot, not as much as Craig and his folks do, but we do hear this everywhere we go. And then finally in November, we've already submitted applications for 2 different grants through the Transportation Improvement Board, but we're looking at just under $5 million worth of grant requests to repave Turner, the entire length of Turner Avenue, and then also Alder and Olympic Highway North. So what you'd see from those projects, really a change in how people get downtown to improve that commute for everybody in the community. Alder Street and Olympic Highway North, if you picture Mickey's Deli to Skipworth's, and you would see new streets, new lighting, bus pullouts, sidewalks, curb gutter. A very, very large project and a very strong change for us. Community development has been focusing on customer service, so we brought forward one of the most respected people in the city. Mark Ziegler took over this role in November, October, and now manages parks, building, planning, facilities. Anything else? Mark's done a great job not only reinvigorating this team and getting them on board with making sure that we're treating people the way that they should be treated when they come in to get service from the city, but he's also jumped headlong into being a director that manages a department he's not used to. And when I first asked him about this role, he told me, I don't know anything about planning. And I said, that's fine, because I don't know anything about being a city manager. And we'll figure this thing out. His department's done a great job. They obtained Eagle Point ostensibly through the port, but through some work they did. That will be a parks project in the long term that we look at. He's also been integral in making sure that we make the permitting of SPI as seamless as possible. There are hiccups along the way, but Mark, it's great to know that if you send out Mark Ziegler with his guys to take care of one of these permit issues, that they don't ever say no. They figure out some options for people to move forward, and that's obviously a big deal, not just to SPI, but to the city of Shelton to have North America's largest stud mill in our working waterfront. And then finally, Mark and his team have been working very, very diligently over the last couple weeks to make sure that we're up to speed with where Alex and the school district are on their projects. Those are the largest projects that we have on the horizon for 2018, and we want to make sure that we are getting prepared. Mark also heard your concerns about how we were doing our inspections. So about 3 months ago, Mark brought in-house a building inspector who will become a building official later this year, but that has been a significant change that we can now offer people the type of service that they expect. So we also wanted to make sure that we highlight how you can communicate with us. Andy Arness joined our team earlier this year as a communications and economic development officer. We completely revamped the city website. We also continue to upload to YouTube all of, really any event that we film, we put up there. And then we're active on social media at both Twitter and Facebook. And I feel like this is a safe place for me to talk about Shelton's Facebook problem. There are still humans that work at the city. You can come on down. You can give us a call. You can send an email. You will get a response. We use Facebook to put out information just like we do Twitter and our website, but we don't use it to debate and dialogue. We do send Andy out to remind people that you can call the office, although we hardly get any back. With that in mind, we do want to invite everybody out next Wednesday when we're hosting Shelton Out Loud, which is a community engagement forum, Wednesday the 27th at 6 p.m. in the Civic Center. We are going to sit around. You'll hear a little bit from each department director as they highlight some of the things that they're working on. We're going to provide information about projects that we are planning and some budget information, get some feedback from people, but more than anything else, we want to give people the opportunity to ask any question that they have. We are unable to get the questions that show up online or the things that you hear in the community. And when we get interactions, it's usually one-on-one. So this is an opportunity for you to come out and really ask Craig any question you want, because we know they're all public works questions. But come in, ask the questions that you have, and the commissioners will be in attendance. The mayor is going to start off with an introduction, and then we'll get to hear from everybody that's actually doing all the hard work at the city if you come in next Wednesday.
And there'll be cookies.
And with that cookie comment, I'll thanks.